John, welcome to Victory. It's great to have you. John, you are the creator of Griffin routers. I recently got a couple of these in my home, and I'm super grateful for your time today to talk about how this can help families. How you doing?
Good, good. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us why you created these things and a little bit about them.
Well, Matt, a few years ago, before we founded Griffin, there was an incident that happened to my younger daughter. So she was actually searching on her iPad for princesses. This is when Frozen had just came out, and she was interested in finding out more. So she was searching on her iPad, and just a bunch of inappropriate stuff came up. And as a parent, you want to do something to protect your kids
Mm-hmm.
online. And unfortunately, I think in the world that we live in today, we have so many different connected devices, and they're so accessible to our kids. And it's really difficult for parents to be able to manage and monitor all the different activities that their kids are doing online.
Right.
We tried some digital filters and different things or settings that on these devices, but they didn't really work really well. So that's why we founded Griffin. So
Yeah.
it's basically the concept behind Griffin is that your internet comes in through your home router, right? So
Mm-hmm.
all the different contents, information comes through this one little device that sits in your home. And if you can control and manage that device, that solves 99% of the problems of all the different things that are coming inside the home. So that's really our concept. But we want to
Yeah.
make it so that it's really easy for parents to be able to use and act as a
Mm-hmm.
tool for them to really manage in this digital age where there's just so many different things that are coming
Yeah.
inside our homes.
Now, I mean, you said that you tried some filters and they didn't really work. Obviously, no filter or router or software is impenetrable. What were you seeing with the filters that you were using when you say they weren't really working? And how is Griffin, in your estimation, better than those?
I think some of the things that we were doing, they were either filtering too much or that you
Mm,
had to kind of manually enter all these things. And it was very difficult actually for kids. Sometimes if it blocks certain sites that the kids want access to, and then you have to unblock it, so they have to take the device to you to unblock it.
yeah.
What we wanted to do is make that whole process easier. So one of the things in Griffin is to be able to allow kids to request access to websites if it's blocked. So they can actually pull up a page called Griffin Care on their device and then just request it directly from the device.
Hmm.
And also just to in real time to basically filter out content across all the different devices. So
Yeah.
instead of setting up parental control on one device and having to set up on another device and another device and another
Yeah.
device, Griffin acts at the network level so that it filters out content across all your devices, including your Xbox, your connected TV, any device that you have in your home that's connected.
Yeah, now talk about how, because I set this up in my home, so glad I have it. Once I did that, I would then bring these different devices online, and then you would say the name of the device, and you would attribute that device to a particular user, and then modify those settings. Help people understand that.
Yeah, in today's connected world, we have multiple connected devices. So my daughter has a bunch of connected. She has her laptop, she has her iPad, she has her iPhone. She has her ebook reader and other connected devices. So our concept is let's create a user profile. You can set the different settings for that,
Mm,
and then assign devices to it. So whatever device is connected to or associated with that user profile has all the same settings that you configured for that particular user. So make it easy for instead of setting up configuration for each device, you just assign that device to the user, and it will attribute all those settings to that device.
So how is it, like, speaking specifically about pornography? Because I know people get this router for other reasons, malware and things like this, which it's excellent. But I mean, is it a blacklist of URLs you're preventing teenagers from seeing, or how is it that the router filters out problematic websites?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of think of it as prevention, protection, and then monitoring, right? So, like you said, there's nothing that's a 100% effective, but we want to try to cover as many bases as possible. So, on the prevention side, you know, we We have this blacklist that's a database that gets updated in real time, and
Hmm.
there are millions of sites that we block, and
Wow.
there are constantly new sites that are coming up constantly.
Yeah.
So that gets updated in real time, 24/7, and that gets pushed out to the Griffin routers. The other thing is really protection. So you have safe search that you can turn on. So that's actually one of the issues that happened to my daughter, is that the search is not protected. So we want to be able to set up so that you have safe search across all the different devices. So you can set that up, and it acts at the network level. So you can try to look for pornography, and it's not going to show up in your search results.
Hmm.
The other thing is really monitoring. Uh, and monitoring is really we let the parents see the list of history of the different sites that their kids are accessing across all the different devices. So even if your kids delete their history on their browser, or if they set it to incognito mode, which some of the kids are doing, as a parent, you can still see what they're looking
Wow.
at um, on these devices because it's getting recorded on the network side.
Wow.
So you have all these different tools to be able to uh, make sure that your kids are that your kids are protected.
Hmm.
Especially
Yeah.
now with all these mobile devices, your kids could be in their bedroom. They could be somewhere else. Looking at these things or searching for these things, or just having access to these things because they're popping up on their devices, right? And we want to give you the right tools so that you can help protect your family.
Yeah, I know
The
for
other
me,
thing,
I know for me, anonymity was the thing that led me to pornography, right? The fact that it just felt
yeah,
like out of sight, out of mind. What I do
mhm.
online is somehow less real than what I do offline. My parents have no idea about this. But what I love about the Griffin Filter is I'm able to say to my son and my daughter, "Hey, I noticed you're on this website earlier. What was it? Tell me about that." Not in an accusatory way, and I'm not pointing out a bad website. I'm just asking them about the thing that I know that they were on. And the reason I'm doing that is just a gentle reminder that because I love you, I'm going to be there if you need me, and I'm aware of the places that you go. And I can tell you for certain that if I knew that as a teenager, that my dad was aware of where I was going, I would have thought twice before clicking on a pornography site. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think hopefully that's one of the things that Griffin brings into the family, is just to have that conversation. One of the shocking statistics that I just recently saw was that the average family only spends about 46 minutes talking about online safety, and
Like
that's
in
not
like
just
ever?
that's ever. Yeah, that's right. That's not
God
just one
mercy.
month or one year.
Uh huh.
It's the entire lifetime of that child's you know
Yeah.
time in the family, which is really shocking. So a lot of families are just kind of giving the kids a device and just hoping for the best, right? So
Yes. Yes.
and hopefully, Griffin kind of brings that conversation, like you just mentioned, about hey, just keeping an eye on the kids while they're on the internet. As parents, we do that naturally when they're outside in the playground, or
Yeah.
but
Where
we
were
kind of
you? Who were you with? What were you doing?
exactly.
Tell me about the grades you just got.
Right.
Yeah.
But when it comes to online content, we kind of keep a blind eye to it
Now,
and hope
what's
for the
really
best.
cool about this, and I'd love you to help me understand a bit more, is it's not just a computer that this router filters. It has a whole host of devices that it filters. And I'm trying to understand how it is that really works, how it is you do that. Like, I had my son hook up his Nintendo Switch to our
Mhm.
router, and I set, to like, I think it was like set it to high school, let's say. How are you able to monitor what Nintendo Switch allows you to download or look at?
Well, we do that on the network level. So every device has to go through your router in order to get access to the internet. And Griffin is basically your router. So all these devices are going through the router in order to connect, including your Xbox or your Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm.
So when these devices connect to the internet, we're filtering the content that these devices have access to. And that's
Okay.
how we're able to do that for every single device. And as I was just recently at CES, and there's just so many different new connected devices.
Yeah.
Computers are no longer just your laptop or
Yeah.
your tablet, right? A computer could be your refrigerator. A computer could be your kitchen appliance or your
Yes.
dishwasher, or all these devices have little screens and they have access to the internet. And so to be able to filter content and to be able to control these devices, from our perspective, we think having some layer of network protection and allowing you to see all these connected devices on your network is really important.
Okay, but what if my child has an iPad and they
Mhm.
decide, and let's say I've got them on middle school or junior or whatever the other kind of settings might be, and they say, well, I'm just going to download TikTok or Instagram on this device, and I will use Instagram to look up things that I shouldn't be looking up. I'm sure you've thought about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of these social media applications have a lot of user-generated content, right? So you can't really completely control all these different applications. Um, we do allow you to set time limits for these applications. In a lot of cases, parents are blocking social media until they can have
Yes.
until the kids are a little bit more mature. I think that's probably the best way
I
to prevent
agree.
it.
But can you use Griffin to do that? Can you use Griffin to block certain apps so that those apps are not downloadable or no?
Yeah, we can block internet access of these apps. So for example,
Wow.
we specifically allow you to block TikTok, Instagram, uh, yeah, and some of these other apps that we kind of curated.
Yeah. YouTube?
You can so you can block them completely from
Mm.
internet access, which essentially blocks them, or you can set time limits. Like your daughter can only have TikTok for 1 hour a day. So after that, it gets blocked, and it's not just blocked on their iPhone, but it's blocked across all their devices, right? So,
That's
um,
amazing.
and-
That's amazing. I mean, how does that even work? So you're saying that if I give my child an iPad, which I wouldn't do, but suppose I do that, and they go to the App Store and they try to download Instagram, what will happen? It just doesn't show up or it doesn't download?
well, you could download it, but once you download it, it just wouldn't work because it needs internet access in order to get the content, right? So that essentially blocks that app from working.
So they could use Safari, let's say, on
Mhm.
an iPad, but they can't use the application Instagram if I've blocked it or if I have them
Correct.
on a lower.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
That's amazing. That is so cool. Um, and what about television? Like, how does that work? If a kid goes to Netflix or something like that, how do you filter content there?
Well, television acts the same way, right? It's a connected device that's on the internet. So if you block Netflix, your TV will not have access to Netflix. So they won't be able to access streaming content either if you block those apps.
So do you block those specific apps from the Griffin app, or is it just depending on the setting you've permitted, those apps will thereby be blocked, unable to use them? People will be unable to use them.
Yeah. So for example, if you set for a lower grade level,
Yeah.
like elementary school, a lot of the streaming apps will be blocked automatically,
Mm.
and that's across all the different devices. So if you assign that TV to your child who's on elementary school, they just won't have access to the streaming content.
Yeah. So my friend again bought these for me, shipped them to me, and it was very easy to set up. I'm not good technologically and was thinking that my friend would have to come up to set them up for me. It was super straightforward. By the way, I want to just point out, like, you're not paying us to like advertise you. You're not paying us to promote you. This is just because I think this is an amazing router that will help a lot of parents that we're having this conversation. But the app that y'all have created is so user friendly. Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now, scrolling across the screen. Even little things like suspending a device for 15 minutes. So if I have one of my children, this isn't their name, but let's call them John, and I say, like, I know it's late and I know he shouldn't be on the internet, so I'll just suspend his device for 15 minutes. That's all of his devices just get suspended for 15 minutes.
That's
That
right.
was super helpful. Seeing where he's been online is super helpful. Knowing that it's much more difficult for him to access sexualized content. It just put me at peace, John, because I think, like, you want to help your children navigate the internet landscape. Like, I'm open to the argument about digging a bunker and throwing your family in there until the second coming or something. Like, I'm open to that. but in all seriousness, I'm not open to that. Like, I want them to be able to engage these things, since this is the way that the world is evolving and we want to use them for good. So just plugging that system in just gave me so much peace of mind.
Yeah, I think that's really part of our goal, is to help create tools for parents to be able to manage their home internet. And like you said, we can't live in a bunker, unfortunately. A lot of the stuff, even for school, is online, right? So
Yeah.
our kids need access to online content. It's just that we want to provide those tools so that parents could be parents in this, what we call digital age, where we have all these different connected devices. And just hopefully, Griffin can be a tool for you to set up different boundaries and also develop healthy internet habits. Even for myself, I have a bedtime where I can set where my internet shuts off, so that it gets a reminder me, hey, I need to get some sleep, and also allows me to see, how much time where I'm spending on the internet, so that I don't spend excessive time just being online constantly. Even as adults, we need that. We need those boundaries to help us have just this healthy relationship with our digital devices.
Now, two objections, I guess, that could be raised, and I'm not sure what the answer is, but one is, if a child has an iPhone, that iPhone has data. So if that iPhone has data, they don't have to go through your router to use the internet. So doesn't it just make the router useless at that point?
Well, we do have an application called Homebound, and Homebound is a patented app where we basically, you can download this app onto your iPhone, and what it does is it automatically connects back to Griffin. So it sends all the traffic back to Griffin before going out, as if your device is still on Griffin network, even though you're using mobile data or you're on somebody else's Wi-Fi.
So how would that work then? I download this app on my child's phone, let's say, and as
Right.
soon as they walk through the door, you're saying it automatically syncs with Griffin, but couldn't they just delete that app? I guess I know in settings I can block the deleting of apps, but is there any way for them to circumvent that so that they can use... Because I mean, my second objection is they can just walk down the road and then they're away from your filter and can then use data. I know that this isn't meant to be the solution to all of humanity's evils, and so it's okay if it isn't. But
Right.
the other thing my son or my daughter can do is go down to their friend's house, go to their Wi-Fi and start looking at porn, and Griffin will be none the wiser, correct?
Well, that's where the Homebound app really helps. It's an app that you install on your iPhone or your Android devices, and what it does is it routes all their traffic back to Griffin. So even though they're on their friend Wi-Fi,
Wow.
their traffic still goes back to Griffin before going out. So you can have the same settings. So those still have the same filtering, even though
What?
they're outside of Griffin's network.
All right.
There is a
That's
slight
amazing.
workaround for
Yeah.
the iOS. So the kids can disable the VPN that's on, so it doesn't route the traffic, but then you'll be notified of that they turned off Homebound. On the Android devices, you can actually set a password so that they can't
Wow.
change it or delete it.
All right, so I'm a bit slow. So I'm going to try to say this again, what you've just said, so I can fully understand it. If I put this, what's it called?
Homebound.
If I put this Homebound app on my child's phone, and then let's say I block the block the deleting of apps, although I imagine even if he were to delete it, I'd probably get a notification. Is that correct or no?
Yes,
It
that's
would.
right.
Okay. So I
Yeah.
download this app on the phone, and then if my son is using data anywhere
Mhm.
or Wi-Fi at a restaurant or a friend's house, you're saying that Griffin still works wherever he is?
That's right. Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing.
It
It's
doesn't
like
matter where you
amazing.
are. You could
Holy
be.
mackerel.
I've used Homebound when I was in China. The data still comes back to my Griffin before going out,
That's
which is,
remarkable.
yeah.
Now, that wouldn't apply, though, if I have a laptop and I take that to a friend's house, would it? Because I don't have this
Yeah,
Homebound app.
unfortunately we don't have the app on laptop yet, but that's
Okay.
something we're planning for the future.
That is okay. So here's a question. I'm going down south on Thursday. We're taking the whole family for a few weeks, so we can get some reprieve from this frigid temperatures. How easy is it to just unplug my Griffin router and then plug it in at an Airbnb, say?
Um,
I know
I
these are
guess,
very personalized questions.
yeah, yeah. I guess you could just as long as they have an Ethernet connection and somewhere in the Airbnb, you can replace their router, I guess, with yours and have that.
And so long as I have, so long as I have the password to their router and my children don't, then they can't log into that router. They would have to log in through the Griffin router, right?
That's right. Yeah. Or you
Oh,
can just plug in Griffin to their router. Yeah, that's right. You can leave their router in place. Just plug in Griffin. You don't have to
yeah,
change anything else.
yeah.
Griffin will find the internet and connect back.
All right, tell us more about this Griffin router, because I've got a feeling we're just scratching the surface. What is it that when people find out, they're just stunned, like I've been stunned these last few minutes?
I think a lot of people don't realize how many different connected devices they have in their homes. Once they connect up Griffin, all the different devices will connect up to Griffin, and but just people are just amazed how many different connected devices they have. So, for example, I have over 62 connected devices right now in my home,
Wow.
which is, who'd have thought,
It's,
right? 10 years
it's
ago that we
so
have that many.
impressive. And like,
And I'm
so
not, I'm not the worst one. So,
what are some connected devices that people wouldn't be thinking about? Like their thermostat, their doorbell? Like what kind of things?
yeah, you have your thermostat, your doorbell, your light bulbs are now connected, refrigerators, barbecue grills,
Oh my goodness.
dishwashers, washing machines, vacuum cleaners, connected toys, your watch. All these different devices are connected. And that's the other thing that we do is we make sure that they're protected from hacking. So all these devices
Yeah.
are, we have this AI that sits in the background and detects whether a device is actually being hacked or not. And then we make sure that they're not being hacked.
Yeah, I'd love you to talk more about that because I presume that the reason many of my viewers are going to go out and get this Griffin router is principally for pornography for themselves,
Mhm.
protecting their children. But what else should people be concerned about that Griffin should give you peace of mind over?
Yeah, I mean, increasingly, we're unfortunately being a victim of hacking and identity theft, and so especially now with kids too, being online, they're using the internet a lot more, and there's actually reports saying that the incidence of hacking and identity theft is increasing, especially for elderly and children. So what Griffin does is it sits in the background to make sure that your devices are not being hacked. We're in addition to pornography sites, we also block sites that have malware or sites that are actively trying to collect information about you so that they can steal your identity. And also, all these different connected devices in your home, like your thermostat or your connected TV, we're actively monitoring these devices to make sure that they're not being hacked into. And we have some AI that sits in the background to look at the behavior of these devices. These devices are doing certain things on the internet, and if they start doing something very strange, like sending data to a country that shouldn't be sending to, we'll notify you about that so that you can take them off the internet and block them or quarantine them from the internet.
And I'm right in thinking that Griffin also has a way of blocking ads. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do. You can turn on ad blocker, and then so we don't block all the ads, but we do block a good percentage of the ads that show up on
Why
on,
is
on
that?
the.
Why be selective with the ads?
Um, it's impossible to block everything, all
Oh,
the
I
different
see.
ads,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. So it's not like you're choosing to block some and others. You're
right.
trying to block all of them, but some might get through.
Yeah, we have a list of ad servers that gets dynamically updated, and so we just block all those ad servers from serving up different ads on your network.
Can you use the Griffin filter on a smart TV and lower the settings, let's say to middle school, such that it will allow certain programs to stream on Netflix, but not others? Or does it merely block the streaming site altogether? And then if you wanted to watch a show with your children, then you could up the grade level and then make sure they're watching what they
We
should watch.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not at that level yet. So you
That's
can
fair.
block Netflix, you can block Disney or any of these streaming sites, but
Oh my gosh.
we don't look at the programming inside yet. And however, we do have a new feature coming out that allows you to look at the different videos that kids are watching on YouTube.
Wow. Wow.
YouTube is actually one of the most frequently used apps especially by kids. And a lot of parents have asked us, can I look at the videos? I just don't want to block YouTube completely, or I don't want to block, I don't want to set safe YouTube only, but I actually want to see the different types of videos that my kids are seeing on YouTube, so that I can, have this conversation with my kids. And that's a new feature that we're coming out with, where we allow you to see all the different
Wow.
YouTube videos, and eventually we'll allow you to block different channels or videos on YouTube. We haven't gotten there yet for Netflix and some of these other services, but that's just a matter of just getting access to the APIs so that we can uh, manage the content on these for these services.
All right, so I'm on my Griffin app right now. If I wanted to look at what my son or daughter have been looking on, can you quickly tell me how to do that?
Yeah, so click on the user, go
Okay.
to the user profile,
Yep.
and
So I'm looking
then
at this right now. You probably
yeah,
can't see it, of course, but no,
yeah,
you can't. Sorry, but
there's a little scroll on the kind of on the top
ah,
middle.
yes, web
Scroll over,
browsing.
web browsing history. Yep,
Click that.
yep.
All right.
And if you have
Okay.
it on, you'll see the history of what
So I
they're
can see
browsing.
the history, but like business and finance, like I don't think. So it's not specific about. It has the URL, and then
Mhm.
it has maybe the broad category of what the URL is about.
Yeah, we're collecting remember, actually, if you go to a website, it actually pulls information from all these other websites as well.
Yeah.
So we're collecting we're kind of recording all the different sites
Wow.
that's being accessed.
Yeah. This is fantastic. Now, would you recommend that people use this in conjunction with a particular software, or is this like a one-stop shop? Once you have the Griffin router, you really don't need a lot of these filters, online filters.
Yeah, I think Griffin covers a lot of it. Obviously, we don't cover everything, so we do recommend, if it's possible, if you want more protection, to have different layers of protection. So you can get Covenant Eyes on top of Griffin. You could get other filtering on top of Griffin as well. So we play our part. We want to make sure that we're covering all the different devices. I think the strength of Griffin is that we cover all the connected devices inside your home, not just your smartphone. And
Mm,
we hopefully make it easy for parents to be able to manage and monitor their connected home. But we don't cover 100%. So
yeah.
we do recommend not only just filtering, but also hopefully this kind of generates a conversation, and encourage parents to build a better relationship with their kids as well. This is if you're putting in a Griffin, this is a conversation that you need to
Mm,
have with your kids before you put it in, hopefully,
yeah.
and
Okay.
or
Explain
before
that.
you,
Yeah.
well,
Explain what
before
that.
you,
What? Sorry, I was going to say.
yeah.
Explain what that conversation might look like.
Yeah, so if you're going to be putting in something where your kids are all of a sudden going to not have access to their Instagram or TikTok at certain times, um, that could create a revolt or uh, so we hope that before you put it in, or as you're putting it in, that you have this conversation with your kids about what kind of content should be blocked, how much time they should be spending on the internet, what their bedtime should be, so that you can set that up. And then once you have that conversation, you set that up, and Griffin will take care of it in the background. Griffin will enforce those kind of rules and that you've set for your family. But I think it's a conversation that's worth having, so that it's not just the technology that helps you to prevent um, these kind of things in your home, but also that you're building that relationship with your kids, so that you can have that
Yeah.
open discussion with your kids about the dangers of being online.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to see is a company like yours create a documentary about the detrimental effects of social media and pornography addiction and things like this. I know there are
Hmm.
some out there, but that
Yeah.
because I love having older kids. My youngest is 8, my oldest is 15, and I love
Hmm.
having conversations with them as they get older because I realize like they're intelligent wonderful
Yeah.
human beings who, you know, with a bit of direction, want what's best for them, and being able to have that reasonable discussion with them about what's appropriate. I'm finding that, yeah, there's not a lot of pushback. But
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, our kids are wonderful, and unfortunately, we live in a time where it's a lot more complicated to be parents. It's not just being in their presence, but also just they're being influenced by all these online content, um, and unfortunately, our kids are spending more time online and less time in the physical world. So we have to, as parents, we have to be ready to,
right.
to do both.
Right, like
So
it's easy to bemoan that fact and get
yeah,
cynical about that fact. And fair enough, do something about it. But unless you're going to move to the country or move to a rural area, and that's an option for you, and I think it could be a very beautiful one. But if you're going to live in town with other people who also use the internet, then you've
yeah,
got to get serious about protecting them. What I love about Griffin is how easy, I know I've mentioned this, how easy it was to set up, because I think, like parents are busy, parents are tired,
yeah,
our children are hacking into the Pentagon's website and we're just realizing that you can check something called a history file, so I'm so glad and grateful that you've made this easy, but kind of sell Griffin as far as that is concerned. Like, all right, let's say they get, and I understand we have a promo code too. Maybe mention it's a 30% off. We have a covenantized promo code, is that right?
um,
Let me ask
you caught me
Ryan.
by surprise, but we can definitely create one, and you can post it.
Ryan
um,
just
yeah.
texted me and he's like, make sure you ask him about the covenantized promo code. All right, we're going to come
Okay.
up with one, I think.
We're going to come up with one. Yes.
And if I don't have it before the end of the interview, we will put it in the description below. So where do people buy it from, and how do they use the promo code? And then how do they set it up in their home, and why should they not be intimidated by it?
Sure. Yeah, I know network equipment is really difficult and challenging for a lot of people to set up. We have spent a lot of time making it easy. So to set up Griffin, you just download our app, and then you create an account, and we have a QR code on the bottom. So you just
Mm,
scan the QR code to set it up, and the QR code kind of handles all the different things that needs to happen in the background in order for your app to talk to your Griffin, and set that up. But you can get Griffin. Right now, we're on Amazon, so you can search for Gryphon Griffin on Amazon. We'll show up on there. And also, you can go to our website, Griffin Connect, GryphonConnect.com, and you can purchase it on our website as well. We hope to be available in Best Buy soon, hopefully this year, and perhaps some of the other retail channels.
Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, we'll put all this information below, the promo code that Ryan told me about. We'll put that there as well. I hope people will go out and get
No,
this.
but no.
Have you received much pushback? I know when VidAngel was getting off to the races, Disney was trying to sue them. This, by the way, for those at home, is an application that you can use to watch movies that will cut out, say, the sexual content or the violent content or the blasphemous content. Have you received much pushback, or are a lot of people just celebrating this?
No, I don't think we received any pushback from, at least from the industry. This is really a tool for parents. And um, as far as blocking content, this is this is for you to block content. So it
Yeah.
really, as a company, we're giving you the tools to be able to do that. I think the only pushback I've heard is really with kids. We've had some incidents where kids are very rebellious about having Griffin in their homes, and it was a challenge for parents to put it in, and that's why we kind of promote, talk to your kids about it before putting it in. Make sure you get their buy-in, and so this is not something that you're trying to punish them, right? This is something where really you're trying to love on them, right? This is something that you're really embracing them and helping to protect them, just like you would in the physical world, where if somebody's beating up your kids, your natural reaction is to protect them. And the internet is beating up our kids, and we really need the tools to be able to protect our kids online.
Yeah, and I think our message will be received a lot easier if our children see that we ourselves are trying to use the internet in a
Yeah,
healthy way. If every time my kids look at me, I'm looking at a screen, like what authority really comes across when I'm telling them they shouldn't be doing that. I think to say, look,
Yeah,
your mum and I use this, and it limits our time so that we can live a more human, more beautiful life. That's what
absolutely.
we're gonna do
You
in
know,
this family.
absolutely. When we put in Griffin in our household, the first question I got from my daughter was, "What's your limit? What's your bedtime?"
Ooh,
Right.
nice.
We really got a model, and I admit I do a poor job of modeling, but we really need to strive to be better models for our kids.
Yeah. John, thank you so much for being on the show, and thanks for all the good work that you're doing to help families.
Well, thank you for having me, Matt. It's great to be here.